Hi friends, in this video you will see the story of a fantasy drama movie. Josh McCall, along with his wife Rachel and their 6-year-old son Max, moves into a new house far from the city's hustle and bustle. The family begins unpacking their belongings and settling in. Over lunch, Josh tells Rachel about his plans to turn the backyard into a golf course. Rachel is happy to finally fall asleep without streetlights outside the window or the noise of cars. Max is afraid to fall asleep. In the new place, Josh brings him his favorite toy, which was left in the car, and assures him there's nothing to fear. Monsters don't exist. It was a long, exhausting day, but despite everything, Josh is very satisfied. Rachel, who practices yoga, says she wants to decorate Max's room in a special way. This will be a new chapter in their lives. Suddenly, a wheel crashes through the kitchen window. A passing car had an accident on the dangerous sharp corner. Josh works at a marketing firm and can't get the incident out of his head, even at the office. At the end of the day, his new boss, Erickson, congratulates him on the move. Josh doesn't mention the unpleasant details. Later, Josh picks up Rachel, who works as a psychotherapist. He suggests they consider buying a second car, since they now live outside the city, but Rachel doubts they can afford additional expenses right now. Josh is worried that their house is located near a dangerous turn. Only the driver died in yesterday's accident. He was drunk, as were the teenage passengers. Renovations in the new house are in full swing. Rachel gets anxious every time Max plays in the yard. What if it happens again? While mowing the lawn, Josh sees people arrive in a car to place a cross on the roadside and lay a wreath in memory of the deceased driver. Josh hides in the garage and watches from a distance. Later, he walks up to the cross. The driver's name was Kyle Curry, and he was only 18. Josh didn't know the young man, but he still feels terribly sorry. How many lives has this dangerous curve already claimed? And how many more could it take? The warning sign is barely visible through the trees. Later, Josh finds Kyle Curry's profile on social media. This boy had his whole life ahead of him, and it ended so cruelly. That evening, the McCalls throw a housewarming party. Everyone asks whether Josh and Rachel are planning to have a second child now that they live in a big house. Rachel replies that she loves children, but she has only just returned to work. Right now, they need money as the new house requires repairs. Josh was supposed to get a promotion, but Erickson got it instead. When Josh brings up the accident, everyone is stunned. He can't stop thinking about Kyle's parents. They were the ones who had recently come to place the roadside memorial. Kyle had just finished school and received a football scholarship. Rachel wonders how her husband knows so much about the boy. Josh says he read the obituary. After dinner, once the guests leave, Rachel, who is cleaning up the dishes, tells Josh he shouldn't have brought up the topic. But Josh simply can't stop thinking about it. It happened right in front of him. Rachel suspects that deep down, Josh wants another accident to happen because it made him feel important. When he spoke about the crash at the table, he looked smug. Josh says that's complete nonsense. Still, Rachel insists he see a psychotherapist and work through his feelings about it. However, Josh doesn't see anything unusual in his reaction. Everything seems to return to normal, but Josh keeps glancing toward that curve. He doesn't want Rachel to sense how anxious he is. Soon, the family goes to an amusement park. They have a great time, but the unease never fully leaves Josh, and for good reason. That evening, while he's grilling burgers, another accident happens at the curve, and the culprit flees the scene, shouting to his wife to call 911 immediately. Josh speaks to the injured driver, trying to keep him conscious, but the man dies before the ambulance arrives. The man's phone starts ringing. A woman named Alicia. Josh takes the phone. The ambulance and police arrive too late. Josh feels guilty, thinking he might have saved the man. Rachel doesn't understand why her husband is so troubled by this specific incident. She wants to move out immediately. The string of accidents is clearly affecting Max's mental state. This was supposed to be their dream home, but it has turned into a nightmare. The next day at the office, Josh examines the contents of the man's phone. He doesn't even know why. He decides to go to the funeral. After all, he never knew the man personally. Josh approaches Alicia, the deceased man's daughter, and introduces himself as David Davidson, offering his condolences. Alicia asks where he met her father. Josh says it was on the golf course. He knows for certain the deceased loved golf. Feeling responsible and obsessed with the idea of saving victims at the sharp corner, Josh signs up for a first aid course. After the class, he asks the instructor if it's possible to buy one of the CPR dummies. Josh meticulously studies all the materials, even during work hours. After receiving numerous complaints from company employees, Erickson firmly asks Josh to focus on work and dedicate more time to his responsibilities. That evening, while bathing their son, Rachel notices bald patches on his head and realizes he's been pulling out his own hair. Clearly, the boy is doing it out of stress. The couple decides to take their son to a psychologist who agrees with Rachel that the constant accidents near their home are the root of the problem. Rachel wants to move out as soon as possible, but that's not so easy now, considering their financial troubles. Josh hates his job and wants to quit, but it's not an option yet. The psychologist suggests they install a fence around the house as a temporary solution. Perhaps it could help shield Max, at least partially, from the nightmares happening on the curve. That night, Rachel lies awake, silently crying. Josh is also unable to sleep, lost in thought. The next day, Josh skips work, picks up Max from school, and makes lunch while Rachel is at the office. Josh doesn't miss a single opportunity to practice chest compressions and artificial respiration on his CPR dummy. When Rachel comes home, she tells Josh that she enrolled Max in a taekwondo class. She hopes it will help him cope with his anxiety. Josh is upset that Rachel made the decision without consulting him. Maybe it wasn't the best idea, *. Nevertheless, Max starts going to taekwondo. One day, after picking his son up from class, Josh sees an ambulance and a fire truck speed past them. There's been another accident at the curve. Telling his son to stay in the car, Josh runs out and sees a woman screaming in despair, begging someone to save her husband. Firefighters have extinguished the wrecked car, and paramedics begin administering first aid to the unconscious driver. Josh watches in a daze. Police officers order him to leave the scene. A journalist approaches Josh and asks him to say on camera what he saw. Josh says this is far from the first accident at that corner, but he's never seen one this horrifying. Suddenly, Josh remembers that Max is still in the car and runs back. Rachel, now on the scene, frantically searches for their son too. Luckily, everything is fine. Max had simply gotten curious and stepped out to see what was happening. At Rachel's insistence, Josh starts going to therapy. He's convinced he could have saved all those people, including the latest driver, who also didn't survive. The therapist tells Josh it's not his fault and that there was nothing he could have done, but Josh can't be convinced. That corner is slowly driving him mad. Before bed, Josh tells his wife that since the leaves have started to fall, the warning sign is more visible, and cars are slowing down, which means there's a chance that there will be fewer accidents. Rachel doesn't say anything. She just asks Josh to sleep in Max's room. The boy has post-traumatic stress, and they shouldn't leave him alone. Due to Josh's negligence, the company loses a major client, and Erickson is forced to fire him. It's a hard decision for Erickson, but Josh has stopped doing his job, ignores his coworkers, and lately seems completely checked out. Josh insists he can fix everything, but Erickson doesn't change his mind. Josh is devastated, unsure how to break the news to his wife. How will they pay the bills now? Still, at home, he tries to act like nothing happened and plays with his son. Late at night, driven by paranoia, Josh wheels a trash bin to the roadside, not even understanding why. Josh can't fall asleep, listening to the sound of cars passing by the house. The next morning, Rachel plans to take Max to therapy and then stop by the pizzeria, not knowing that Josh has been fired. She invites him to join them. Josh says he'd love to, but first, he needs to get permission from work. Instead, Josh goes back to practicing CPR on his dummy. Then he watches car crash videos online. Josh is drowning in paranoia. Every time he hears the roar of an engine passing by, he tenses up. The house is now up for sale, and soon, the first potential buyers arrive. Since the realtor is running late, Josh volunteers to show the house himself. After that, he meets with his wife and Max's psychologist. Rachel mentions that she called the office and was told Josh no longer works there. He responds that it must be some kind of mistake. The doctor says that Max shows no signs of post-stress disorder, so there's nothing to worry about. Soon after, Rachel gets a call from the realtor and learns that Josh scared off the potential buyers by telling them about the series of accidents. Rachel doesn't understand what's going on with Josh or why he didn't tell her about the firing. Right away, she starts packing her things and asks Max to pack as well. When Rachel sees Josh's CPR dummy, it becomes the last straw. Josh insists he just wanted to save lives. After all, Rachel's work also involves helping people. But Rachel is convinced that this isn't normal, and she leaves. Josh contacts a lawyer in hopes of saving his marriage. He knows that Rachel intends to file for divorce and restrict his access to their son, but Josh is determined to fight. The lawyer explains that Josh will need to prove in court that he is the more suitable parent and that it would be in the child's best interest to stay with him. Josh realizes he must find a new job and a place to live soon. However, that's not easy, given the reputation of the sharp corner. Now, Josh is only allowed to see his son once a week. Max is very upset that his parents are divorcing. He wishes things could go back to how they used to be. Josh promises his son that he'll sell the house soon and they'll be able to spend more time together. But time passes and nothing changes. The house that was supposed to mark a new beginning has destroyed everything. So, when a married couple responds to the listing, Josh immediately schedules a viewing. The first thing they ask is what the catch is. Why is the house so cheap? Josh explains that it's because of a divorce, carefully avoiding any mention of the accidents. Finally, Josh manages to sell the house and rushes to share the good news with his son over FaceTime. He also promises to buy Max a dog. When the boy says he wants a dog like Drake, Josh remembers that's the name of his therapist's dog, Rachel's colleague. Could there be something between them? Even though Josh is doing everything he can to put his life back together, Rachel has no intention of agreeing to shared custody. She considers the whole situation unhealthy. In her view, Max needs stability, something Josh can't provide. Josh packs the rest of his things into boxes, preparing to move out for good, but the sharp corner still haunts him. It's raining, which significantly increases the risk of accidents. Just in case the worst happens, Josh keeps a first aid kit close by. He doesn't sleep all night, watching out the window, but the accident never comes. Josh catches himself wishing for it and then deliberately waters the asphalt with a hose to make it even more slippery. When that doesn't work, Josh saws down the warning road sign. Only after Josh collapses from exhaustion and falls asleep does the accident finally happen. Woken up, he quickly rushes to provide first aid to the injured woman. A passing bus stops, and Josh begs someone to call 911. He acts like a professional, pulling the woman out of the overturned vehicle. She's not breathing, and Josh begins resuscitation efforts. But no matter how hard he tries, it seems to be in vain. Josh realizes this is his fault. At that moment, the woman suddenly starts breathing again. The ambulance arrives. In the final scene, we see Josh smile. So, what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below, and if you like the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.